Cool. So I'm Mike Lambert, and I'm here to talk to you guys about intrapreneurship. And the focus of this is really going to be on intrapreneurship for everyone, how regardless of your positional power in an organization, how you too can be an intrapreneur and make a really lasting impact on your companies. There we go. All right. Whoa. I've got a ton of animations in here, so this is going to be super fun. Cool. So the agenda here is I'm going to start off by talking about what exactly is intrapreneurship. I'm then going to use a personal example, which was alluded to in my introduction, to illustrate a few lessons and tips that I've learned along the way. The focus here is really going to be on pitching an entrepreneurial venture, and less so about the later implementation type phase. So, does anyone have any ideas about what intrapreneurship is? This is interactive here, guys. Yeah. I'm going Mac. Any ideas? No idea. Whoa. Yeah. Exactly. So it's, as they say in some parts of the world, it's same, but different. It's very similar to entrepreneurship, except the biggest difference is really where capital and resources are coming from. In an entrepreneurial venture, you're usually using your own money or externally raised money from banks, friends and family, angel investors, venture capital, that kind of thing. Within an entrepreneurial venture, your capital and resources are going to be coming from the employer. And with that, you get some advantages, which is you don't have to worry about raising funds, and you get access to the existing organization. So a lot of people think that entrepreneurship has much higher risks and higher rewards. And I think that the risks and rewards are actually quite similar. In an entrepreneurial venture, you could get a huge promotion, or it could go really bad, and you could get a demotion or get fired. You could work on an equity stake in the venture, it's really something that can make or break your career in certain situations. And an additional reward of both of them is I think that they provide a sense of value and sense of purpose for people who are engaged in them. So for my entrepreneurial venture, we're going to delve into the super exciting world of wholesale insurance. Yeah. All right. So prior to coming to Alchemy Code Lab, I was working as a wholesaler. And a wholesaler is essentially a middleman in between insurance companies and the insurance agents who sell insurance to end users. And usually they occupy a niche. So in my case, it was mostly high-risk construction business. Now, insurance wholesalers they provide a quote to the insurance agents. And this process is incredibly inefficient. So first, the end insured comes in, they fill out an application. Then the insurance agent goes and emails that application, usually in a PDF form, to the wholesaler. And then we go and we enter it into our system, and then we have to enter it into all of the insurance carrier systems, get approval and rates, and then we go and we develop a quote, which we send back in a PDF form to the insurance agent, and then they go and they sell that quote, right? So the entire process typically takes around 1 to 3 days, and sometimes more. It's just horrible. So I thought, as a solution, it would be great if we would have an online portal in which the agents can come and they can get instantaneous rates, and they can in turn sell the business a lot faster. And I thought we could increase our sales volume with this. Right? So that's just a little bit of the background on what my idea was. So I want to impart some lessons that I learned along the way. So the first one would be that it's really, really important when you're pitching an idea to understand organizational politics. Just because you're not the boss or the CEO doesn't mean you don't have power. And to illustrate this, I'm going to use something. You guys ever see those images where it's, what my mom thinks I do, what society thinks I do, blah, blah, blah? Yeah, so I got something similar. It's going to be odd with the lag because, like I said, a lot of animations. So a lot of the time, people, they really think that this is how they pitch an idea, right? Got this great idea. Whoa, I'm going to go and I'm going to talk to my boss about it, right? My boss is going to say, oh, wow, cool. That's such a great idea. Why didn't I think of that? I'm going to go and talk to my boss about it. So then he goes slowly and talks to his boss. And then his boss is like, whoa, that's amazing. Cool. You know what? I'm going to go and I'm going to pitch that to the CEO. Yay. And then the CEO, he's just super impressed. And he's like, yes, great. Idea, greenlit, and it's a go, right? But do you think that's usually how the world works? No, probably not. So usually what actually happens is you have your idea, and then you go and you talk to your boss about it, and he's like, yeah, cool, yeah, maybe I'll bring that up at the next quarterly meeting. And then, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, you don't really hear too much. And you're just back there sitting and saying, I had this great idea one day. But in reality, the way that you really should be pitching an idea is you should be thinking about, hey, can I get other people who are at a similar level? Can I get them involved and get them to buy in to my idea? And if you can get your coworkers and your colleagues to start thinking, oh, wow, this really is a good idea, then you can create kind of a groundswell of power, I guess, that you can then use to convince your boss that this is a really great idea. And then when it comes time for him to pitch it, it seems very obvious based on having so much support from your department or other parts of your company that, yeah, this seems like a no-brainer. And then by the time it gets up to the CEO, it should be pretty obvious that this is a really good idea that's well supported within the organization, right? So the thing to keep in mind here is really that there's a big difference between positional power that is given to you by hierarchies and relational power. And at its basis, businesses are social organizations. So you need to keep that in mind, and nurturing relationships is super, super important and a way that you can have power even though you're not in that positional power. Another thing to remember is that persuasion, usually you're not just going to get one pitch at something. Persuasion is not a one-time effort. It's something that you do over a long period of time. And because of that, it's really important that you nurture your credibility, yourself being an expert in this subject. And with that, it really goes a long way. So the second thing here is that is really, really important to think small. We're always told to reach for the stars, dream big, be all that you can be, which you should, right? But I'm a realist. And I think that when you're trying to develop a venture, when you're not in a place of really positional power, you need to think about what can I do within my realm? What can I do where I don't actually need permission, right? So the purpose of a really, really minimum viable product is for you to test assumptions, because when you come into a venture or have an idea, you have assumptions about how people are going to act. And you need to be able to test those. So my MVP, you would think it was just like a super scaled down web app, maybe. But if you think about it, I couldn't really do that. I can't like hijack my employer's website and throw something on there. So at the time I was doing my MBA, I was doing some finance courses and started, I was learning about Excel, and I realized that Excel has logical operators. It's got if, and, or, not. You can do Boolean matches on strings. Overall, I saw that and I was like, wow, this is actually a pretty powerful thing. So I went and I hacked together a program that would allow me to, essentially the program did comparative rating. And I went and I gave that to my clients, who are the agents. And so I was able to go and get something out to market so that I could immediately test whether or not my theory that them having immediate pricing would lead to increased sales volume. And then, because I was also thinking about how to harness the relational power, I was telling my colleagues about it. And I went and I gave my coworkers that. And then they started giving it to some of their clients. And then soon enough, I had people coming back and they were, my coworkers saying, wow, this was really cool. What if it could do this, right? And I was making product improvements. Before I went to market with what a lot of people would think of as a traditional MVP. And then by the time I was able to get a pitch higher up, I came back and I had actual data and a much more fleshed out idea about what it should be. And I had a lot of the logic already written into it. So want to take a quick moment to review this amazing journey you guys have all come along with me on. So first we talked about what intrapreneurship is. It's a lot like entrepreneurship. We then talked about how we can utilize relational power within our organizations. Talked about thinking small, and at the end I alluded to a little bit about building a case over time. So if you're interested, some additional reading, there's a really great Harvard Business Review article called The Necessary Art of Persuasion. If you haven't read it, The Lean Startup by Eric Rice is a great way to get into minimum viable products and the theory behind that. And also, if you want to get super Machiavellian, and I have to warn you before you go and read the 48 Laws of Power, they come off as really evil, but they're pretty cool and have some truth to them. But again, they're really Machiavellian. So thank you very much. Here are my all of my handles. One thing to note is I just got on Twitter last week, so you guys can get in on the ground floor and be my very first followers. So thank you very much.